My beloved brothers and sisters, today I come before you with a message that burns deeply within my spirit, a message that has been stirring in my heart like fire shut up in my bones. God said, before 19th October, 4 things will happen. My beloved brothers and sisters, today I bring you a word that has been burning in my spirit like fire. God said, before 19th October, 4 things will happen. This is not a word to stir fear, but to awaken faith. It is not a message about disaster, but about divine direction. Many of you have been walking through a season where nothing seems stable. You've been praying, waiting, wondering why things you depended on are beginning to shake. But I tell you this, the shaking is not the end, it's the beginning. When God shakes something, it's never to destroy, it's always to rebuild. When God moves the ground beneath you, He's preparing to lift you higher. Some of you are in that season right now. You feel like everything familiar is falling apart. The job you thought was secure suddenly feels shaky. The people you trusted seem distant. Doors that were once open now feel closed. You've cried out to God, asking, "Why, Lord? Why now?" But hear this, He's not taking from you. He's making room for what's coming. Before a farmer can plant new seeds, he has to plow the ground, break it open, and turn over the soil. That's what's happening in your life. The shaking is not punishment, it's preparation. I remember meeting a woman who told me her story of how she lost her job after 10 years. She was devastated, feeling as though her prayers had gone unheard. But only a few weeks later, another company called her, offering a position with better pay, flexible hours, and peace of mind. She told me through tears, if I hadn't lost that job, I never would have seen this blessing. You see, sometimes God has to let something fall apart so that something greater can come together. Before 19 October, many of you will understand why certain things didn't work out. What feels like rejection today will reveal itself as redirection tomorrow. But that's not all God is doing. He said hidden things will be revealed. This is a season of unveiling. Some of you have been walking in confusion, unsure who to trust, unsure of what to do next. But God is bringing clarity. He is exposing what has been concealed, not to shame anyone, but to set His people free. When light enters a dark room, shadows flee. That's what's happening now. Light is entering your situation. The truth will come out. You will see people's real hearts. You will understand why things didn't make sense before. And when that happens, don't be afraid of what is revealed. Embrace it, because truth brings freedom. I once knew a businessman who couldn't understand why every deal he made fell through. He was hardworking, honest, and prayed every day. But one night, he felt led to fast and pray for wisdom. During that time, God gave him discernment to look closely at one of his partners. It turned out that man was altering numbers and taking money secretly. Once the truth came out and that man was removed, everything started to flourish. In less than a year, his business tripled. He said, the day truth came, prosperity followed. Before 19 October, some of you will experience that moment. You'll see what's been blocking your progress. God will not allow deception to cover His promise anymore. Then God said unexpected doors will open. Some of you have been knocking for so long that your knuckles are bruised. You've waited, prayed, and done everything right, but still nothing seemed to move. But hear this, God is about to open a door that no one even knew existed. It won't come from the direction you expect. It won't be from the people you thought would help. It will be something so divine that only God could have orchestrated it. In the book of Revelation, God says, I have set before you an open door which no one can shut. That means when He opens it, no power, no enemy, no circumstance can close it. I remember a young man who dreamed of studying abroad but had been rejected 3 times. He was heartbroken, thinking maybe it wasn't meant to be. But one night, he prayed saying, God, if you have a plan, open a door that I can't see. Weeks later, he received an unexpected email saying the scholarship board had reviewed his case again and was offering him a full ride. He didn't even apply again. It just happened. That's what divine favor looks like. Before 19th October, some of you will walk into rooms you never thought you'd enter. You'll receive calls you didn't expect. What was once impossible will suddenly be possible, because when God opens a door, you don't have to force it. But that's not all. God also said, I am speeding up what has been delayed. This is the season of divine acceleration. Some of you have been faithful for years, praying for breakthrough, sowing seeds, staying obedient, and yet it feels like nothing has changed. But God doesn't forget faithfulness. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you whispered when no one was watching, it has been recorded in heaven. There are seasons when God allows delay to build your faith, but then comes the moment when He says, "Now." When that happens, time itself bends to His word. What should have taken years will happen in weeks. What should have taken months will happen in days. I know a couple who waited for a child for 7 long years. Doctors told them it was impossible. They prayed, they believed, and still the years went by. But one Sunday, during worship, they felt something shift. That very week, they found out they were expecting not just one child, but twins. They said, "It's like God pressed fast forward on our prayers." That is divine acceleration. Before 19 October, many of you will see sudden movement. Projects that have been stuck will start to flow. Dreams that seemed forgotten will come alive. Don't be surprised if things begin to move quickly. God is redeeming lost time. Yet all these promises, shaking revelation, open doors, acceleration, are not random blessings. They are a call to spiritual alignment. God is saying, "Return to me," because no blessing can sustain itself outside of His will. Many have sought the blessing and forgotten the blesser. But God is calling us back to intimacy, to prayer, to faith, to holiness. Before He pours out what's new, He wants our hearts right. This is not a time to be distracted by the world. This is a time to be focused on His voice. When a car's wheels are misaligned, even if the engine is powerful, it will drift off course. The same is true in our spiritual lives. You can have faith, talent, and opportunity, but without alignment, you'll end up off track. That's why God is using this season to realign you. He wants your priorities straight, your heart clean, and your vision clear, because what's coming requires maturity and faith. So as you approach 19 October, don't be afraid of what's shifting. Rejoice, because God is setting things in motion for your good. Every delay, every disappointment, every closed door has been part of His design. This is the moment when the unseen becomes seen, when prayers turn into reality. The world might call it coincidence, but you'll know it's God. He's shaking to rebuild, revealing to guide, opening to promote, accelerating to fulfill, and aligning to prepare you for what's next. Stay faithful, stay expectant, and watch how the next days unfold. Because when God says, before 19 October, 4 things will happen, it means heaven has already scheduled your breakthrough, and nothing on earth can stop what heaven has decided. My brothers and sisters, I want to speak to your heart today. This message is not one of fear, but of faith, not of confusion, but of clarity. God has spoken, and when He speaks, it is never without purpose. He said, before 19 October, 4 things will happen. These are not just random words, they are divine instructions meant to prepare your spirit for what is coming. When God speaks about time, it is because He has already prepared something that must unfold within that time. He is not bound by dates, but He uses them to align us with His will. The next few days are not ordinary days. They are sacred opportunities for transformation, revelation, and restoration. Many of you have been walking through a valley of uncertainty. You have prayed and waited, but answers seem delayed. You have tried to understand why some things you trusted have started to fall apart. But hear me well, God often allows things to shake before He shifts them. He never builds something new on an old, unstable foundation. When you see movement, when you feel disruption, do not assume it is destruction. Sometimes God breaks what is temporary to reveal what is eternal. What you are facing right now may feel like a breakdown, but it is actually a divine setup for a breakthrough. A man once shared with me that after 20 years in a company, he was suddenly laid off without warning. He was angry, confused, and ashamed. For months he struggled to understand why God allowed that. But through prayer, he began to see that his job had become his identity. He was clinging to security, not faith. Only after losing that job did he finally step into the dream that had been in his heart for years, a small business that grew faster than he ever imagined. He said later, "I thought I lost everything, but I discovered who I really was." Sometimes God has to take away what you think is holding you up to show you who truly sustains you. So, if you feel like the ground is shaking beneath you, hold on. It's not to harm you, it's to position you for something new. God also said that hidden things will be revealed. In this season, truth will come to light. We are living in a time when many people wear masks, hiding pain, fear, or even deception behind smiles. But God sees what lies beneath. He is not revealing things to embarrass, but to bring healing. He is uncovering what has been buried so that you can walk in freedom. Some of you have been stuck because of things hidden in your surroundings, relationships not rooted in honesty, partnerships built on manipulation, decisions made from fear instead of faith. Before 19 October, you will see what has been unseen. It will not be comfortable, but it will be cleansing. I remember a woman who had been praying for direction in her life. She wanted to marry a man she believed was sent by God, but every time she prayed, she felt uneasy. She couldn't explain it, but her spirit was restless. One day, she asked God to reveal the truth. That same week, she discovered that the man was already engaged to someone else in another city. Her heart broke, but she said later, "I thank God for showing me before it was too late." When God reveals something painful, it is not to wound you, it is to rescue you. Don't fight His revelation, embrace it. Because truth may sting for a moment, but it saves for a lifetime. And then God said, unexpected doors will open. Some of you have been faithful, yet it feels like every door is closed. You've applied for jobs, prayed for healing, sought opportunities, and nothing seems to work. But I want you to understand, when one door closes, it's not the end of your story, it's the redirection of your destiny. God is not just closing doors, He is preparing the right one to open. The reason it takes time is because He's aligning everything perfectly, so that when it happens, you'll know it could only have been Him. There was a man who once told me that after years of struggling to get his business off the ground, he reached a point where he almost gave up. He said one night he cried out to God and said, "If this is really your will, show me one open door." The next morning, he received a call from a company he had applied to 2 years earlier. They said his old proposal had resurfaced during a board meeting and they wanted to partner with him. Within months, his business took off beyond his dreams. He said, "It felt like God remembered me." That is what divine timing looks like. Before 19th October, some of you will experience those open doors, unexpected opportunities, surprise connections, and divine favor that makes no sense except that God is behind it. But God is not stopping there. He said, "I am speeding up what has been delayed." For years, you've prayed for certain things: family restoration, healing, financial breakthrough, purpose, and it seemed like nothing was moving. But we serve a God who can redeem lost time. He can do in a moment what would take man a lifetime. When His appointed time comes, no power on earth can delay it. When His word goes forth, even nature obeys. There's a scripture that says, "The plowman will overtake the reaper." That means harvest will come before you're even done planting. Blessings will begin to chase you down. I once met a couple who had been trying for a child for many years. They prayed, fasted, and held on to faith. After several disappointments, they were tired and ready to quit believing. But one Sunday, as they were praying together, they felt peace, as if God whispered, "It's time." Just a few weeks later, the doctors told them they were expecting twins. The husband wept and said, "All these years of waiting were worth it." When God moves, He doesn't just restore what was lost, He multiplies it. So don't give up if things seem slow right now. God may be silent, but He is not still. He's aligning circumstances, touching hearts, shifting seasons in your favor. Before 19 October, many of you will look back and say, "I don't know how it happened so fast, but I know it was God." However, there's one more thing God said. He's calling His people to realign their hearts, because every blessing, every open door, every acceleration requires preparation. God doesn't bless us so that we can boast. He blesses us so that we can be a blessing. He doesn't move just to make us comfortable, but to make us useful for His purpose. If your heart isn't right, the blessing becomes a burden. So God is saying, "Return to me." He wants you to be in tune with His Spirit again, to trust Him fully, to let go of distractions and seek His presence. When a car's wheels are misaligned, even if the engine is powerful, it cannot move straight. It will drift off course. The same is true with our lives. You can have all the potential, all the talent, but if your heart isn't aligned with God, you'll keep wandering. That's why this season is so critical, not just for what God wants to give you, but for who He wants you to become. The shaking, the revelation, the open doors, the acceleration, they all have one purpose: to bring you closer to Him. So as the days draw near, fix your heart on His promises. Let go of what He's removing, open your hands for what He's bringing, and prepare your spirit for what's coming. Because when God declares that 4 things will happen, heaven itself begins to move. And when heaven moves, nothing on earth can stop it. My dear brothers and sisters, I want you to open your heart today, because the message I'm about to share is not ordinary. It carries a divine urgency, a prophetic rhythm that demands our attention. God said, before 19th October, 4 things will happen. These are not just words to hear, they are words to live. They are not warnings of destruction, but promises of divine intervention. They are signals that heaven is aligning itself with your destiny. When God speaks with time, It's because He's already released something in the spiritual realm that is now ready to manifest on earth. The days leading up to 19th October are not regular days. They are appointed days, days of preparation, days of shifting, and days of manifestation. Many of you have been waiting for a change. You have been praying for a breakthrough, fasting for direction, believing for miracles, yet it feels like life has been standing still. You wake up, go through your routine, but deep down there's an a question that whispers, when? God, I want to tell you today, your waiting has not been in vain. Every tear, every silent prayer, every sacrifice has been recorded. God is not ignoring you. He's organizing your miracle. You see, when the seasons seem still, that's when God is most active. The seed does not grow above the soil until it has fully developed beneath it. You can't see it, but something is happening in the dark. God is preparing something for you that your eyes have not yet seen. But before every blessing, there is a shaking. When God shakes things, it's not to destroy but to prepare. The shaking is His way of moving you from comfort to calling. Some of you have been asking why relationships are breaking, why your plans keep failing, why doors you depended on are closing. God is saying, because I am about to do something new. When the Israelites left Egypt, God didn't allow them to bring everything with them. Some things had to stay behind because they didn't belong to the promised land. Likewise, there are things in your life that cannot enter the next season with you. Before 19 October, there will be a shaking, not to scare you, but to strengthen you. What is not from God will fall away, but what is from Him will remain unshaken. I once met a man who told me that everything he had built was taken from him in a single year. His business collapsed, his health failed, and he lost friends who had once called him brother. He said, I thought God had abandoned me. But through prayer and faith, he began to rebuild. Slowly, doors opened again, better doors, lasting ones. He said, what I thought was lost turned out to be renewal. The shaking revealed what was real. My friends, don't fear the shaking. It's the sound of your foundation being made strong. Then God said, hidden things will be revealed. There are secrets that have been buried, truths that have been hidden, and motives that have been disguised. But God is a revealer of mysteries. He shines light where there has been darkness. For some of you, He's about to reveal the reason for your delay. For others, He's about to expose what's been holding you back. Revelation brings freedom. When you know the truth, you are no longer bound by lies. I remember a young woman who had been struggling with depression for years. She said she didn't understand why, because her life seemed fine on the outside. One day, while in prayer, she said she heard a whisper, forgive your father. She didn't even realize she had been holding bitterness inside. The moment she let go and forgave, peace flooded her heart. She said, it felt like a weight had been lifted off my soul. Sometimes the things that imprison us are not outside but within. God is going to reveal those hidden weights before 19 October, not to hurt you, but to heal you. After revelation comes restoration. When light enters, life follows. God said, He will open unexpected doors. Some of you have been staring at the same closed door for too long. You've knocked, prayed, and cried before it, but the door hasn't moved. Maybe that door was never meant for you. Sometimes God doesn't open the door you're praying for, because He's preparing one you haven't imagined yet. He doesn't just restore, He replaces. He doesn't just give you back what you lost, He gives you more than what you had. There was a young man who had applied for dozens of jobs and faced rejection after rejection. He told me, I felt like a failure. But one day, while walking home, he met someone he hadn't seen in years. That person told him about a new company that was hiring. He applied there without much hope, but within 2 weeks, he was hired in a position higher than anything he had applied for before. He said, I realized God had closed every wrong door so that I could walk through the right one. That's how God works. He lets you face disappointment so that when the right door opens, you'll know it wasn't luck, it was grace. Before 19 October, some of you will experience that same grace. A door will open in your life that no man can shut. And when those doors open, things will not move slowly. God said, I will accelerate what has been delayed. For years, some of you have been praying for restoration of time, lost opportunities, broken relationships, delayed promises. But our God is not bound by time. He can do in one moment what would take you a lifetime. You might say, I've wasted years. But God says, I can redeem them. When He moves, He doesn't just move you forward, He multiplies your steps. A woman once shared that she had spent 10 years in a marriage that ended in betrayal. She was broken, financially unstable, and emotionally drained. But she decided to trust God again. She began to rebuild her life, one prayer at a time. Within 2 years, she not only found healing but started her own business. She said, "I thought my best years were behind me, but God showed me they were just beginning." That's divine acceleration, when God takes the pieces of your pain and uses them as the foundation for your promise. Before 19 October, expect the speed of heaven. Where you once crawled, you will now run. Where you once waited, you will now witness. But through all of this, through the shaking, the revealing, the opening, and the acceleration, God is calling His people into deeper alignment. These blessings are not meant to make us proud, but to draw us closer to Him. Sometimes, when things start to move in our favor, we forget the one who moved them. God is not just after your miracle, He's after your heart. He wants your focus, your devotion, your love. Before He pours out the new, He wants to make sure your vessel can hold it. There was a time when I too prayed for blessings but ignored the preparation. I wanted God to answer quickly, but I didn't realize that my character wasn't ready for the promise. Blessings without alignment become burdens. Success without surrender becomes stress. That's why God often waits, not because He's unwilling, but because He's protecting us from what we're not yet ready to handle. Before 19 October, align your spirit. Let go of bitterness, fear, and distraction. Recommit yourself to prayer, to faith, to obedience. The next days are not just a countdown to a date, they are a divine process. God is preparing His people for something greater. The shaking will purify you, the revelation will free you, the open doors will elevate you, and the acceleration will fulfill you. But it all begins with alignment. When your heart beats in rhythm with God's will, nothing can stop what He has planned. So open your spirit and be ready, because heaven is about to move, and your miracle is already on its way. My dear brothers and sisters, I stand before you today with a message that carries the heartbeat of heaven. It is not just a sermon, it is a divine reminder. God said, before 19 October, 4 things will happen. These are not mere words or predictions, but spiritual truths meant to prepare us for what He is about to do. We are living in a time when heaven is moving quickly, aligning people, places, and purposes. You may not see it yet, but something is stirring in the unseen realm. The air of change is already here. The Spirit of God is whispering, "Get ready, because what I am about to do will not be delayed." Many of you have been walking through a season that feels uncertain. You have faced loss, confusion, delays, and disappointments. You have prayed and waited, and at times it seemed like heaven was silent. But I want to tell you, God's silence is not His absence. His delay is not His denial. When He appears quiet, He is often working the hardest behind the scenes. Just because you cannot trace His hand does not mean you cannot trust His heart. The pain, the shaking, the waiting, it has all been part of your preparation. Before any great breakthrough, there is always a period of breaking. God allows this not to weaken you, but to strengthen your faith, so that when the blessing comes, you'll know it was His hand, not your own. There was a woman I once spoke to who told me her story of losing her home. She cried and said, "Why would God allow me to lose everything?" But years later, when she looked back, she realized that losing that house forced her to move to a city where she met people who helped her start a business. That business grew beyond her imagination and became a testimony of God's faithfulness. Sometimes what feels like the end is simply the beginning of God's redirection. If you are in a place where things seem uncertain right now, do not fear the shaking. It means God is moving. He shakes what is temporary so He can reveal what is eternal. He removes what is unstable so He can establish what will last. The Lord also said that hidden things will be revealed. In this time, God is shining light into the dark corners of our lives, our relationships, and our decisions. He is uncovering things that have been buried, not to shame us, but to free us. Many of us have been walking around carrying invisible weights, unforgiveness, fear, jealousy, guilt, or secret pain. These things hold us back from walking fully in His blessing. Before 19th October, there will be moments of revelation, moments where God shows you what needs to be released, what needs to be healed, and what needs to change. I remember hearing about a man who could not understand why everything in his life seemed to go wrong. Every business deal failed, every relationship ended badly, and every plan collapsed. One day during prayer, he felt God speak to his heart saying, "You have been trying to build your own plans without inviting me in." That moment of revelation changed everything. He stopped striving and started surrendering. Within months, opportunities started to open and his life turned around. Sometimes what's missing is not effort, it's alignment. When you invite God into the center of your decisions, He turns chaos into clarity. The next thing God said is that new doors will open. Doors you didn't even know existed. Some of you have been knocking on the same door for so long that you've started to believe it will never open. But God is not limited to one door. When one closes, it's not rejection, it's redirection. He is not just preparing a door, He's preparing you to walk through it. There are times when God will hide certain opportunities until you are spiritually mature enough to handle them. Sometimes He will delay a promotion to protect you from pride. Sometimes He will hold back a blessing until your heart can handle the responsibility that comes with it. When the time is right, the door will open, and it will open easily. You won't have to push, manipulate, or beg, because when it's from God, the door swings wide with grace. I once knew a young man who had been trying for years to get into a university abroad. He faced rejection after rejection and was about to give up. But one day, a letter arrived from a university he had applied to long ago. They said they had reviewed his previous application again due to a new scholarship program, and this time, he was accepted. He told me with tears in his eyes, God didn't forget me. He was just waiting for the right time. Sometimes the delay is not denial, it's divine timing. Before 19th of October, some of you will experience doors opening that you thought were permanently closed. You will see God's fingerprints on opportunities that seem impossible. But God didn't stop there. He said, I will accelerate what has been delayed. There are moments in life when it feels like everything is moving too slowly, like your prayers are hanging in midair, waiting for an answer that never comes. You've been faithful, you've been patient, but it seems like time itself has turned against you. But we serve a God who can redeem time. He can compress years into moments. He can do in one season what would normally take a lifetime. When His hand moves, delay loses its power. I once met a woman who waited 15 years to have a child. She had gone through every treatment, every prayer meeting, every possibility. Then one night, she said she felt peace wash over her as she prayed. She heard the words, "It is done." Within months, she conceived. And not only that, she gave birth to twins. She said, God gave me double for my waiting. That's divine acceleration. God doesn't just restore, He multiplies. Before 19 October, expect speed. Expect things to move suddenly. Expect situations that seem stuck to start shifting overnight. God can turn what looked like years of delay into moments of destiny. But amidst all these promises, shaking, revelation, open doors, and acceleration, there is something even more important. God is calling His people to return to Him. Blessings mean nothing without the blesser. Success means nothing without the source. In this season, God is not just blessing hands, He is purifying hearts. He wants His people to walk closely with Him again, to pray, to listen, to depend on Him, not the world. He's calling for surrender, not just for results, but for relationship. I remember a man once said, I prayed for success and got it, but I lost my peace. Then I prayed for peace and found success. When God becomes your focus, everything else falls into place. He wants to realign your priorities, your heart, your mind, your time. Because what He is about to pour out is not just for comfort, it's for purpose. The blessings that are coming will carry responsibility. He's raising people who won't just receive blessings, but will use them to bless others. So, as this appointed time approaches, prepare your heart. Don't be afraid of the shaking. It's building strength. Don't resist the revelation. It's bringing freedom. Don't doubt the open doors. They're proof of His favor. Don't fear the acceleration. It's redemption of your waiting. But above all, draw closer to Him. Because when your heart aligns with His, no power in heaven or on earth can stop what He has declared. The days ahead are not ordinary days. They are days of divine movement. Heaven is already at work. What God promised will happen, and it will not delay. The time is set, and your miracle is closer than you think. My beloved brothers and sisters, when God declares something, it is not just a statement, it is a decree. His word carries life, authority, and purpose. When He said, before 19th October, 4 things will happen, He was not merely giving information. He was revealing His intention for His people. Heaven is never random. God moves with precision. Every promise, every prophecy, every instruction carries a divine timeline. And when the fullness of time comes, nothing can stop what God has appointed. Many of you have felt the tension of waiting. You've been standing between promise and fulfillment, wondering when things will change. But I assure you, the time for divine manifestation is near. The atmosphere of your life is shifting. What was once delayed will soon be delivered. There is a spiritual quickening taking place. You may not see it with your eyes, but your spirit feels it. It's that stirring deep within, that sudden sense that something is about to happen. This is not your imagination. It's divine preparation. When heaven is ready to move, God begins to awaken the hearts of His people. That restlessness you feel, that desire for more, that uneasiness with where you are, it's a sign that God is aligning you for what's coming. Before a new season begins, the old one must become uncomfortable. Just like an eagle stirs its nest to prepare its young to fly, God sometimes disturbs our comfort so we can rise to new heights. In this season, the Spirit of God is saying, do not fear the change. Many resist change because it feels uncertain, but change is often the womb of your next miracle. What looks like loss may actually be a shift in divine direction. I once knew a pastor who was asked to leave his church after many years of faithful service. He was heartbroken and confused, but instead of growing bitter, he prayed, Lord, show me what you are doing. Months later, a small group of believers invited him to lead them in prayer meetings. Those gatherings grew rapidly, and in a few years, they became one of the fastest growing churches in their city. He said, if I had not been pushed out, I would never have walked into my true calling. God often closes one door so that you will see the bigger one standing beside it. The Lord is also saying that He is restoring what has been lost. Some of you have endured seasons of stripping, relationships broken, finances drained, dreams delayed. You've cried out, why Lord? Why me? But I tell you, the season of restoration is upon you. God is the only one who can give beauty for ashes and joy for mourning. When He restores, He doesn't just give back what was lost, He multiplies it. In the book of Job, after all his suffering, God gave him twice as much as he had before. The same God who did that for Job is still on the throne today. He hasn't changed. Before 19 October, expect restoration, not just material, but emotional and spiritual. The peace you lost, the strength you thought was gone, the faith that felt broken, He is restoring it all. There's a story of a man who lost everything in a storm. His house, his savings, his business. He said he felt like his life had ended. But instead of giving up, he started praying and volunteering at his church every day. A few months later, a friend introduced him to a business opportunity. He took the chance, and within a year, his business grew beyond what he had before the storm. He said, I lost everything, but I found God. And when I found God, I found everything again. Restoration always begins when you turn your focus from what you've lost to the one who can restore it. But restoration is not the only thing God is doing. He is also bringing divine connections. There are people assigned to your destiny who will appear in this season. You've been trying to do things alone, but your next level will require partnership. God never intended for you to fulfill His purpose in isolation. Even Moses had Aaron, David had Jonathan, and Paul had Timothy. Sometimes the delay you face is because the right people have not yet arrived. But when they do, things will accelerate. Be sensitive to divine appointments. Those moments when you meet someone and something in your spirit says, this is not an accident. God connects you to those who carry what you need and sends you to those who need what you carry. A young woman once shared how she prayed for years for her dream job but never got a response. Then one day, while volunteering at a community event, she met a stranger who asked about her career. That man turned out to be the CEO of a company in her field, and within weeks, she got a position she had been praying for. She said, I was looking for an opportunity. God was looking for alignment. Sometimes the answer to your prayer walks into your life disguised as a simple encounter. That's why you must remain humble, kind, and open, because divine connections often come in ordinary moments. God also said He will expose deception. There are things hidden in the dark that will come to light. For too long, some have trusted the wrong people, believed the wrong voices, or followed the wrong directions. In this season, God's light will reveal truth. This may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's necessary for your protection. You cannot build your future on a foundation of lies. He is removing false influences, relationships, deals, even habits that have secretly been working against you. When God exposes, it's not to destroy, it's to deliver. He removes what's fake so He can bless what's real. I once heard of a businessman who discovered that one of his closest partners was stealing from him. It broke his heart. But after cutting ties, his company not only recovered, but tripled in profit. Later he said, if God hadn't exposed it, I would still be losing and not even know it. Exposure is painful, but it's also powerful. It clears the path for progress. Some of you will see people leave your life, and it will hurt. But when you look back, you'll realize God was protecting you from what you couldn't see. And finally, God said, He is pouring out a fresh anointing, a new strength, a new passion, a new vision. This anointing will empower you to do what once felt impossible. You will pray differently, believe differently, and dream differently. The anointing breaks yokes, removes burdens, and ignites faith. You may have felt weary and drained, but the Spirit of God is breathing life into dry bones again. Like the prophet Ezekiel saw in the valley, what was once lifeless will rise again. A missionary once said that after years of struggle and prayer, she felt like quitting. Then one night, as she was praying, she sensed the presence of God fill the room. She fell to her knees and wept. When she stood up, she said she felt as if fire had entered her soul. From that day, her ministry exploded. She said, "It wasn't me. It was the anointing." You cannot accomplish divine assignments with human strength. What's coming requires the power of God flowing through you, not just around you. So in this season, prepare yourself. These 4 movements of God, change, restoration, connection, and anointing, are already unfolding. Heaven has set the timeline. The key is to remain in faith, to stay expectant, and to walk in obedience. Because when God speaks, the earth must respond. When He sets a time, no delay, no opposition, no obstacle can stand in His way. What He has declared will come to pass. The shaking is not the end, it's the beginning of divine order. The waiting is not punishment, it's preparation. And when the 19th of October comes, you will look back and say, "Surely the Lord has done great things." Before 19 October, 4 things will happen: shaking, revelation, open doors, and acceleration. But only for those who are spiritually aligned. God is not waiting for the calendar to change. He's waiting for you to change. And when you do, what happens next will not just be a season. It will be a divine turning point that will mark your life forever.